Hello and welcome to a very special, and I would call it the Aamchi Legends signature episode of this podcast. A very special guest, and what a fantastic occasion to be the same week that the Ayodhya temple was consecrated, Ram Temple. We have a very special guest joining me from Lucknow. He's Mr. Nitin Gokarn. Hi, Mr. Gokarn, and welcome to the Aamchi Legends signature episode, as we call it.
Hi, how are you doing?
All good, Mr. Gokarn. And we have had you in our previous episodes. In fact, 2 years back, and it's always good to be back on have you on this podcast. So much to talk, and I'm sure you have so much to share. But maybe just quickly a recap of what we had discussed in our last episode for our new listeners and our new audiences. What I believe, you were born and raised in Hubli, then you moved to Mumbai. You were a couple of years Mumbaikar, and then as a part of your professional IAS career, you moved to the north. Maybe you could just give us a peekaboo into your career, and then we take it from there.
Well, my initial part of my life till I think I started working was all in Mumbai. Typical Mumbaikar. My father used to work in Baba Atomic Research Center, so typical Mumbai background in that sense. I never thought I'll leave Mumbai when I was there till I landed through the UPSC into government service. In fact, my first ever foray into the north was for giving the interview in Delhi for the
Okay.
UPSC.
Okay, indeed interesting. So now today you are the additional chief secretary for the government of Uttar Pradesh. I believe you manage the housing and urban planning and the state taxes, which basically is the GST part. So tell us, how did this Ayodhya project or the infrastructure bit of it come into your lap?
Well, it's a slightly longish story. I was working in 2018 onwards in housing and urban planning, but at that time the Ayodhya judgment hadn't yet come. When the Ayodhya judgment came, I had additional charge of PWD for some time, and then I was moved and shifted as a full-time PWD secretary. So during my PWD secretary tenure, this work of being a nodal department for the vision document for Ayodhya was entrusted to the Housing and Urban Planning Department. Of course, I was involved by being the PWD secretary at that time till I moved in 2022 as a housing secretary. The vision document was prepared by Lee Associates, and it was a very thorough exercise. Simply because for us, we've seen most of our district headquarters transform over the last few decades. But for some reason, Ayodhya remained the way it was. And I think till the smart city projects came up in Ayodhya a couple of years back, Ayodhya hadn't really seen much development over the last 3 decades. And I've seen Ayodhya right from 88, 89 onwards, when the so-called disputed structure also existed. I've seen the structure when it was, and I followed the entire thing up close quarters, met a lot of people then, and continue doing so, and seen its transformation to where it was and to what it is today. So, but that is a separate journey. But the journey of Ayodhya city as such, it remained very constrained. In fact, a lot of people were very despondent. They said that Sita Maiya, when she was sent to the forest, she gave a sharp that this city will never come up and all that. So there was a lot of despondency to the fact that they had been left behind compared to some of the other places. Simply because, see, Ayodhya, Mathura, Kashi, these are the most important religious places in UP for a very long time. And while Mathura and Varanasi progressed, Ayodhya felt that they were left behind.
Okay. So maybe walk us through when this whole project started. How was it, the experience? You've seen Ayodhya years back, and when you see it today, I'm sure it's a huge difference. Of course, thanks to you and your efforts of your team, which made that transitional difference. So maybe if you could just walk us through that.
Well, the Ayodhya, when I saw it first in 88, there was just a small narrow street which goes through the city center, and there were small shops all along that place. And there was just one bridge which went and crossed into the Saryu River, and you went on to the other side, which was Gonda, Basti, and then onwards to Gorakhpur.
Yeah.
In the interim, the good part was that NHAI had built a bypass for Ayodhya. So people would have no need to enter into Ayodhya city, would go by that bypass towards Gorakhpur. But
Okay.
apart from that, there was nothing much that had happened. So one of the first things that was entrusted to us when I was in PWD was to look at the entire transportation plan for Ayodhya. So we kind of designed the full ring road for Ayodhya, the what is called as the Chaurasi course. That's about 265 kilometers of ring road. Another one from the outer side for Ayodhya, and then the entry points, right from the railway station to the bus stands to the airports to the main temple area, and to see how it can be expanded. So a very ambitious project was taken up, I think, in three parts, which is called the main Rampath, the Sugriv Kila Path, and the Janmabhoomi Path. All three were taken up and designed. That included shifting of all the utilities, including the overhanging bunch of electricity wires that are ubiquitous in all ancient towns. You know, you find those wires hanging around, and
Yeah.
you don't know where is going where. Those transformers bursting all the time, all those kind of issues.
Totally.
And yeah, totally challenging. And the whole thing was actually a complete widening of a road which was actually non-existing. I mean, where you could hardly walk with one car, you had to make almost like a four-lane road, and that entailed a lot of demolition of the appurtenant areas, and while taking it up for road widening, bringing in the utilities and making all utilities underground,
Yeah.
because the challenge it's not a road project again, it's a challenge of R&R for the existing people,
True.
as also shift of utilities,
Yeah.
which means utilities in sewerage, water supply,
Yeah.
electricity, everything
Yeah.
all done, new networks laid, and then on top of it you then have the fresh road, plus then the road infrastructure with along with the beautification. So what you see today in terms of what the facade and the entire facade control and the wide roads that you see in Ayodhya, a lot of stuff has actually gone into it.
Yeah.
Several hours and days and
So
of
almost
meet.
2 years, 2 years plus, I'm sure, right?
Yes, yes, it started 2 years plus, and that's how you see Ayodhya transform today. What you see on
Yeah.
various videos.
It must have been very challenging, right? Because even it's not about just the infrastructure, but the minds of the people, to change that mindset of people staying there, convincing them. How tough, how challenging was that bit?
I think the local administration felt very, very challenged in this. And the idea was that people should get whatever is the best
Yeah.
deal of the whole thing.
Mm.
A lot of people had very small shops, and they would have a small shop below and their residence above. So a lot of people were shifted out, and they were given alternative shops,
Mm.
for which the development authority made commercial complexes along with parking lots
Yeah.
wherever development authority had areas, and they were shifted and allotted shops. They were shifted and given houses built by the development authorities. So a lot of R&R went into it.
Mm.
The whole idea was the mindset of
Yeah.
making people ready to
True.
accept that this change. But once a specific momentum started building up, there was a resistance for a long time. But once the momentum started building up, people came forward and they voluntarily started to, some of them actually voluntarily demolished a part of their whatever was coming
Fantastic.
into. And that's how the transformation took place. Of course, all this was guided none less by the Honorable Chief Minister, because he himself went to the spot
Yeah.
on number of occasions, inspected the place, and gave directions within time to the district officials, and monitored it personally as to what was happening,
Yeah.
and kind of whatever the issues were there were sorted out at his level also. So a lot of personal attention from his side to see this transformation. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult as a project to execute.
Completely understand. And now with the temple finally out there, and tourism, I'm sure is a very big thing. And it's not just about tourism, right? Now it's about the infrastructure, people planning to have houses, coming and buying properties. So how is Ayodhya set up as such? And because you've seen Ayodhya on a completely different lens, and now it's a completely different. Even have an airport now. So where do you see this going? A couple
Well,
of
the
years.
Ayodhya, let's start from the airport. The Ayodhya airstrip was there. It was actually a non-functional airport. I mean,
Okay.
probably very few aircrafts of even of the state government, that is the of the honorable CM, would land there and take off.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there was nothing much. So a lot of land acquisition had to take place for expansion of the airport. The terminal building came into being. The air traffic control systems came into being. So all that took place. Then because the number of trains into Ayodhya needed to be increased, so the
Yeah.
platform numbers had to be increased. Then for increasing the platform numbers and the rail sidings, you needed more land. So we
Yeah.
had to give them land to the railways so that they could plan the expansion and then design it accordingly so that those trains can come and go. More than
Yeah.
100 trains per carry all the passengers.
Yeah.
Then the requirement for bus stands, shifting of
Mm.
the bus stands outside so that at least the major it's like a star network where you have roads coming into Ayodhya from Lucknow side, from
Yeah.
Varanasi, Prayagraj, Gonda, Gorakhpur, all entering into Ayodhya. So
Yeah.
all those buses, wherever the entry points were there, had to be brought out. And then the entire beautification, right
Mm.
from the entry point inside, looking at the facade control,
Yeah.
looking at transformation of the visual experience, looking
Mm.
at the various beautification aspects of road infrastructure, where you get a look and feel that you are entering into Ramlala's Ayodhya, not just some town.
Yeah.
All that was actually planned and done,
Yeah.
and that was an exercise which I think took a better part of the last couple of years
Mm.
in terms of planning, execution, and detailing out every small aspect.
Yeah.
From the development authority side, we also brought out the revised master plan for Ayodhya, because Ayodhya master plan was last done in 1988, and there was no master plan in terms of the land use requirements, where
Mm. Mm.
suddenly a land requirement shot through the roof. But if everything is agriculture, I can't construct.
True.
So the whole master plan requirement of Ayodhya 20 years from now was brought in. The GIS-based master plan for Ayodhya was one of the first master plans that we finalized. We also increased the area of the development authority to encompass the entire district, because the original area was also pretty small because the city itself was small.
Mm.
Then the infrastructure that is being built has also been brought into the master plan. And now you have several layers in the master plan GIS, which
Yeah.
is including the transportation, the water supply, the everything is now available to the residents to find out where exactly, if I want to buy a plot of land, what is
Mm.
the land, whether I have water there, where is the electrical
Yeah.
connection,
Yeah.
whether there's sewer there. Those kind of things have been brought in. And also, we came up with something called the Navya Ayodhya. This
Mm.
is the most modern townships that is being planned in Ayodhya,
Yeah.
along the banks of the Saryu River on one side and the national highway on the one side. We have land which is on the other side of the national highway also. In fact, to the extent that we paid NHI from this project 350 crores just to elevate their national
Wow.
highway, so
Mm.
that we can get the people move seamlessly from one side of our place to the other,
Wow.
and uh, all the water blue layer, the green layer, the
Mm.
non-motorized transportation aspect,
Yeah.
the fact that the design is such that from the radials you can actually see Ramlala's temple standing at wherever you are,
Beautiful.
because as per the master plan controls, that is going to be the highest point in the city.
Okay.
All those have been brought in. And this was probably the last work that Dr. B.K. Doshi of Ahmedabad did for us.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
we brought him on board. He was a bit reluctant initially, but we said that this is something which is once in a lifetime that you get. He was very excited to work with us on this entire design of Navya Ayodhya, based on the Vastu Shastra principle for urban planning, which is traditional Indian, plus the most modern urban planning principles, so that we will have the best of all blends, Indian
Yeah.
as well as modern,
Yeah.
in the total experience for Ayodhya.
Mm.
And I'm happy to inform also that we started registration of land for the mutts
Okay. Amazing.
and institutions and state post houses. A lot of people have evinced interest in our properties that are going to come up there.
Wonderful. In fact, you would have had a lot of good, terrific interactions with the temple trust. As the days progressed, how were those interactions? How was the whole collaboration as such?
See, the main point of interaction was how we are going to get the pilgrims who are going to come. Where are they going to stay? Because the numbers are humongous.
Yeah.
They are they've handled 5 lakh population coming and going in terms of pilgrims during, let's say, Ram Janmabhoomi or any specific occasion. But
Yeah.
that's for a day.
Yeah.
But imagine doing that over and over again every day, probably without even realizing that 5 lakh is just a small number. You can have going up to 10 lakh on certain specific days. Like
Yeah.
Ram Navami is going to come now. The numbers are going to go through the roof. Nobody can estimate how much it is,
Yeah.
especially because a lot of people from across the country would like to visit the place and have darshan uh, at least once in their lifetime. That's the sense one gets when one is interacting with people. The locals, of course, will like to do it on multiple occasions on specific days that,
Yeah.
those are nice days. So you have to cater to that. So you have to absorb that kind of population coming into the city,
Yeah.
for which the upgrading of the staying facilities, the boarding, lodging facilities, whoever is there, what extra rooms were all brought in under this umbrella. A lot of one-to-one discussions took place, and parking sites were identified for vehicles, four-wheelers, as well as buses. Huge parking lots were brought out. Then tent cities were done, because immediately one can't revamp for 1 lakh people going to stay.
Yeah.
So tent cities have been brought out with the modern tent facilities, along with the best sanitation facilities, water supply and sanitation, all included, so that people can experience Ayodhya and, spread a good word about it, about the facilities, about the overall experience, so that by word of mouth they impress upon others to also come and enjoy that.
Yeah, and I'm sure now you have really heard loads and loads of people visiting Ayodhya after this event. How is the administration managing this? I'm sure it's a huge challenge.
Hey, it's a huge challenge, because see, after the Varanasi Kashi Vishwanath corridor took place, and people started coming in to experience that, the numbers in Varanasi went through the roof. I mean, they have counters there which count the number of people entering into the temple complex. So there it crossed 10 crores last year.
Wow.
10 crores is a huge,
Huge number.
huge. Yeah. And well, after Ayodhya has come, now the attention for everybody is towards Ayodhya. So somewhere around between 3 to 5 crores is what is being estimated. We are seeing those numbers already, because 5 lakh, 6 lakh people are coming daily.
Yeah.
3 to 5 crores is going to be breached in no time.
True.
So it's going to be a big challenge. It's not just for people coming and going. You need logistics, you need
Yeah.
water supply, you need
Yeah.
sewerage facilities, you need cleaning facilities, you need people to feel safe. So security aspects,
Yeah.
everything needs to be run. So
Absolutely.
that is the challenge.
And I'm sure with the leadership of the Honorable Chief Minister, you guys have managed to bring Ayodhya to what it is today. How was it working with the Honorable Chief Minister, the teams, for you as an experience, personal experience?
Well, the Honorable CM is a very hands-on chief minister. I mean, he actually not just sits in his office, but he's held several meetings in Ayodhya. I mean, a lot of us have probably done several days of meetings in Ayodhya, going through each and every project, going into its detailing, and not just in the meeting, but he would actually go and inspect on the site personally,
Yeah.
at night, at day, various times of the day, and see what is the actual progress on the ground. And if it was not satisfactory, pull up people for lack of progress, or
Yeah.
if the quality was not good, then he would pull up people. So it was something which was a very different kind of an experience, where the highest political executive himself was completely involved in this entire exercise. A lot of decision making also became very
Yeah.
fast tracking issues that normally take a long time. All those got discussed and resolved in meetings also. So and it's not just in the state government. There are several central agencies also involved, because you had NHI, you had civil aviation, you had railways, you
Yeah.
had others also who would participate in these meetings, and then they would be told that this is what needs to be done, get it done through government of India, and they also delivered. So the point of the whole thing is that a lot of coordination effort has gone in,
Yeah.
led right from the front by our honorable chief minister.
Absolutely. it's a absolutely, Mr. Gokarn, an absolutely proud moment that we have a Bhana, who has had, so much of active participation. I'm sure there have been no Saturday, Sundays in your life in the last 2+ years, but we are very proud to have a Bhana, being a part of this such a wonderful, momentous occasion in the history of Bharat. Uh, Thank you so much for joining on this very special signature episode of Aamchi Legends. Best wishes to you and your career. And of course, I must also add here that the wishes are for you and your entire team who have really had, I'm sure, very challenging, but at the same time, end of the day, a very satisfying day, end of the day. How was it? How was it?
Extremely satisfying. I think these are one of the highlights of one's career, lifetime memories in terms of the to see a place get transformed within one's own lifetime is something which is really momentous. Because as I said, I saw Ayodhya in '88,
Yeah,
and I mean, I can describe how Ayodhya looked like, but when I crossed the Saryu River and went on to the other side towards Gonda, Basti, those areas, there were hardly any houses that were pakka houses. In an entire state, you had just one or two houses that were pakka, and the whole village road network was in shambles. There was no village road as such.
yeah,
You couldn't enter to those villages once the monsoon set in.
yeah,
I mean, we the country from there till where we are today, that every village can go any time of the year. You have 100% pakka houses. Those years, days of safety and security in the villages, those
yeah,
nightmares that you hear about, that's no longer there. You see cities that are vibrant, and you now see cities that are aspirational. The people
yeah.
who are in the villages are aspiring for better lives today.
True, true.
Uh, that entire transformation from a despondency side to
Yeah,
a real optimistic side of human existence through the cities, that has actually come up, which is very,
absolutely.
very.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's that momentous journey, right, of seeing that Vikasit Bharat, in this Amrit Kal. Thank you once again so much for joining on the signature episode of Aamchi Legends, Mr. Gokarn.
Thank you so much.
And well, with that, we come to this end. I would say it's a great start, and I'm sure, Mr. Gokarn, I would like to add here that I'm very sure our community is going to look forward to come to Ayodhya to visit the temple, and I'm sure you're going to play a much larger, bigger role in making sure that they come to Ayodhya in coming weeks and months and years.
Yes, most welcome, but don't come right now. I mean, right
Yeah,
now it's
yeah, it needs
quite.
time to settle down. Yeah, agree.
Let things settle down, and
Settle
then you can sit and do come with your families. Don't come alone.
down. Absolutely. Well, with that, we come to the end of this amazing episode. Thank you so much for watching and on being on this show. And also to our Samiir Halady, who has been the backbone for this entire Aamchi Legends as a concept and marketing. From me, Santosh Sirur, and Mr. Nitin Gokarn, who is the additional Chief Secretary for the Government of Uttar Pradesh, managing the Housing and Urban Planning and the State Taxes Department. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye and take care.
Thank you.